Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back from another Optc video, and in today's video with the Gear 5 celebration wrapping up, being a big celebration, we're going to be putting together our end game tier list. Now, stereotypically, I like to do these at the back end of big celebrations, stuff like anniversaries, half anniversaries, New Year's, all that kind of stuff, and with the release of 4 new Super Sugos, and not having done this since anniversary, we have a lot of characters to put onto this end game tier list. But what is the end game tier list prioritized? Kazuna, Super Boss, that's the #1 priority. In my opinion, it is the best ranking-based event with a cohort of your alliance. Plus 10 stars is another particular piece of content that you need to strategize for and where characters shine quite nicely as well. Obviously, characters get cooldowns and stuff like that, very similar to stuff like Treasure Map, but there are some characters that sort of just work exceptionally well for stuff like damage, utility, and just overall power within the unit. The next game mode is Treasure Map. Treasure Map comes around once a month, and as an endgame player, you want to be trying to maximize the 10 million point mark with stuff like speed teams. If you are ranking in Treasure Map, what characters are going to do that, what specials are very nice, and what utility is great for that. Obviously, as always, characters are subjective to the content that comes out, but stereotypically, there are some characters that shine above the rest that are just better. Besides those 2 game modes, everything else really in the game comes around on a schedule that is a little bit infrequent. Stuff like arenas, stuff like blitz battles, stuff like Grand Voyage, that stuff is very subjective to what's going on at the particular time. All of that kind of stuff though, blitz battles especially, are sort of just what units are boosted, that's what you want to bring. Stuff like PKA, that's another new game mode that has come around, but again, you want to be just using like the boosted characters for that. But nevertheless, it is still content in the game, and it's still very hard content that you can use these characters for as well. PK's become a very endgame content as well, with the level 150 being quite challenging. But there's always going to be a bunch of teams that actually can complete that. But as for arenas, as for lower level content, basically every character in the game can get it done. But as an endgame player, these characters are going to shine more predominantly within those game modes. The final one is PvP. Now, PvP comes around literally every single day, as well as Grand Party coming around once a month. Now, characters in PvP have become a lot more prevalent in the meta, as PvP is a game mode that, especially endgame players, you should be prioritizing. Now, I have a tier on this tier list for PvP alone, but I will be doing a PvP tier list as well that is purely focusing on their PvP abilities. I see PvP and Grand Party as a separate game mode to the rest of the game, so I do want to try and separate the 2 tier lists, but there are some characters that are just so good in PvP that I did have to include them on this tier list. On top of that, PvP does come into their ranking just a little bit, nowhere near as much as stuff like Treasure Map or like Super Boss 10-star Kazuna does, but it's still something to note as you do play that game mode every single day. But if you enjoyed the video, go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're coming back every day and you haven't done so already. Help a brother out. And if you disagree with anything, let me know in the comment section below too. That's the most fun to talk about, this kind of stuff. I do read everyone's comments, and hopefully I can get back to you guys. Things have just been so busy lately that the comment section has been very, very challenging to get to. But I do read them all. So I hope you guys can voice your opinions down there. Just keep it fun, keep it friendly. And remember, this is subjective. This is just my opinion playing the game for a very long time and actually utilizing these characters in said endgame content. But like I said, if you enjoy the video, bell the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know who your top 5 are in the comment section below. And with that said, let's dive in. Shout out to the tier list maker. I will leave a link in the description below if you guys want to go and build your own tier list. As you guys can see here, this is the tier list, the endgame tier list that I put together for anniversary about 3 months ago now, I believe it was. Probably a little bit longer. I want to say it was 3 months ago now. 3 months sounds pretty right. Now, this was our top 5. This is going to change drastically today. I just want to give you guys a little bit of a spoiler. This is not going to look the same by the end of the video. Definitely not. Next, we've got meta. This meta tier, basically, the characters in this tier are so good at what they do for either type-based content or just, like, building out damage-based teams. Like, versus Yamato, she's, like, so unique with her damage reduction buff. Super Tandem Kaido, everyone knows what he can do. Super Tandem Luffy, just an absolute freak with his monstrous captain. Robin in Super Boss Kazuna is literally irreplaceable. Well, now she's kind of replaceable, but you guys know what I mean if you know what I mean. And some of these other characters are just so good elsewhere, like in terms of utility with Uta, Straw Hat Crew with their final tap, the Beast Pirate team and what they can do with like Kaido and blowing away buffs and not being able to be blown away. The waifus with their crazy color fin and the utility of Ace Sabo, and the usefulness of areas like Grand Voyage and stuff like that. Remember, I am prioritizing Super Boss Kazuno as like the top priority, and then probably Treasure Map, and then kind of the rest of the game being Grand Voyage, PKA, level 150, all that kind of stuff. PKA level 150 actually probably takes third spot now that I'm thinking about it. And then you have stuff like other areas of the game, like Grand Voyage, regular content, Colosseums, Recollective Archive, all that kind of stuff. But again, everything can kind of clear that. And then we have like a little bit of PvP scattered in there somewhere. As for Amazing, if you come down here for Amazing, these characters are all incredibly good, but they're just sort of not at the level of that echelon that is up here. I think I dropped Ace Yamato last month because like they just sort of weren't seeing that much play, but nowadays like they definitely do, which is kind of crazy. But all these characters are very, very good. It's not that they're drastically worse than these characters up here. It's just that they don't see that much play. But we're going to do some changes before we dive in. I just want to give you guys an idea of the tiers. Super subs, these characters are all used as subs. Like, you're never really using them as captains for whatever reason. Carrot's probably the exception because she swaps into captain. But her as a sub is just so good for speed farming content and stuff like that. Next, we've got the niche category. Like, you're using these guys for a particular purpose, and that's basically it. Marco for, like, 10-star farming teams. Hawkins is, like, super unique with his ability to nullify damage, I believe. Or that, no, that's Jinbei. Jinbei can nullify damage. Can't remember what Hawkins does, to be honest. Odin with his 95% damage reduction when you can get that to work. And then, like, the Wano Orbs. Like, this tier is very niche, and they can have usefulness, but it's just so subjective to when it actually pops up. You have the Treasure Map Speedsters. These characters are just so good in Treasure Map. Like, you're pretty much not using them anywhere else. It's not that they're bad, but again, like, the place you're going to be using them is in Treasure Map. Next, you have the PvP Ultra. These characters are just so good in PvP, but in regular play, you're never really going to use them anymore. It's a shame, but look, it's just the way that it is. The only character that I'd probably argue for is Jack, because he's an EXP captain, but you have Marco and Momo now, so they're just better. And then Shangshru, 6+. In Grand Voyage, he's so good, but like otherwise, you're never really using him. And then you have PvP Beta, like these characters, they're good options for PvP, but like they sort of just don't find a place on the tier list otherwise. And I want to sort of give them a little bit more credit than just putting them in like never going to use. Next, we've got Grand Voyage monsters. These characters, you're going to level up for Grand Voyage and then probably never use them again. If I'm being completely honest. Stuff like Rayleigh, for example. This particular lore nowadays, like as an endgame player, I haven't used this lore in God knows how long. This Blackbeard, for example, is another one. 6+ him and then just get him done. Nami, obviously, for hers, and then Vivi Rebecca for that same one. I believe we have got a Grand Voyage since then, actually. So, I think we're probably going to update this particular tier as well. Grand Voyage options. These characters are all good in Grand Voyages, but not ones that you're just going to flock towards. Or are like must-use characters nowadays. Some of these up here are like must-use. Like Neko Inu against Local Sea Monster, and Rayleigh is like a must-use. Brook versus Buggy is just, he's a must-use. But other than that, like, yeah, you're just looking at Grand Voyage there. Then you come down to supports. Take a screenshot of this if you are moving into end game and you have one copy of each of these units. These units, you just want to level up their support, and then you're literally never going to use them for anything. Frankie was the only one that you could argue that was like niche and that could be used. But with the update that removes his ability to go through damage limiter, I had to move him back to support. It kind of sucked. But look, it is what it is. Kaido's end turn damage, Brook with his revive. Kaido's end turn damage can be quite niche, and Brook with his revive can be quite niche. But really, you're using them for their supports nowadays. I'm actually going to bring Brook up into niche because his revive can be super nice and can be super valuable. But other than that, like these characters, you're just using them for supports, and that's literally it. So get them to level 5, call it a day, and then you can move on there. We will change some stuff when we actually get there as well, though. Finally, we have never going to use. These characters, unfortunately, they suck. They're never really going to be used. But this 6+ Big Mom, I didn't really talk about her last time. She's actually really good in Grand Voyage. She's an exceptional Grand Voyage character. I've seen a lot of videos on her taking down particular Grand Voyages of Powerhouse and Slashes. So she's a fantastic option there. But we do have a lot to talk about. We're not going to break down each individual character because like it's just an endgame tier list. You guys should know what they do. But I'm going to move them all onto some tiers because as you can see, there is a lot of characters. Before we dive in though, let's take a look at the never going to use tier. Let's see if anyone can be moved. Arlong Crew is definitely going to be moved up into Grand Voyage Master. obviously you need to bring him for the one versus Luffy in Arlong Park. And then as for these other characters, I don't think there's really anyone else that we can sort of move up here. I believe versus Shanks actually. Versus Shanks is a Grand Voyage option. Definitely an option that can be used against our local sea monster nowadays. And as for everything else, like these characters all kind of got 6+s and stuff like that. That's kind of why they're here. This Luffy actually has a interesting support, so I'm going to bring him up into supports. Where is my support tier? Here we go. I'm going to put him in support because he does have an interesting support. Other than that, these other characters, pretty much never going to use. Yeah, you're pretty much never going to use these characters, unfortunately. It is what it is. But let's take a look and see if anyone else needs to be moved around. I believe I had Garp somewhere. Where did I have Garp? Garp I had up in support. This Garp right here. His 6+ is so good for Grand Voyage nowadays. But most of the time, you're going to be using him as a support unit. He has to be used against for Arlong Park, basically, and then otherwise you just like can't get it done. So, let's take a look at some of the top tier lists, and let's see if we can move anyone around. Because, obviously, meta shifts, meta changes, and characters do lose value, to be honest. It doesn't make them bad, just makes them lose particular value. So, dropping down tiers, I'm going to bring Mr. Kaido. I'm going to bring him down into Amazing. For obvious reasons, he literally just got replaced by a new Kaido. It is what it is, but he's not bad. It's just that he's not going to see that much play anymore. Same with Sabo. I think Sabo is going to be moved down next to Shanks, falling off a little bit there. Same with this Luffy as well. I'm going to bring him down to Amazing. I actually have the 6+ Brook up here, so that's something to know. Okay, cool. As for everyone else, Toki definitely saw some resurgence in Super Boss, which was actually so funny. Her Toki abilities just shows how good she actually is. So that's that was so interesting to see with the meta. Sabo, Uta. Yeah, look, I'm pretty happy still with everyone that is in meta. The Beast Pirate team is still crazy, and everyone else is kind of still very, very nice. I guess out of Amazing, we could probably move some characters out that aren't going to be used anymore. But that doesn't mean they're bad at all. It just means that they're not what they once were, I guess. But yeah, for now we'll leave them. We'll leave them like that, and then as we sort of move some other characters into particular spots, we can sort of go from there. In saying that, though, I do think I should drop some characters that I just haven't used in a very, very long time. So, like, Killer, for example, I don't think I've ever used Killer since actually pulling him, except for if he's support on Kid. He has a very, very good support that goes on Kid for damage reduction removal. This Yamato, I'm going to bring her down into PvP beta nowadays. Like, that's really the only place that I tend to use her. I don't really use her anywhere else. The Rayleigh Gaban's still really good for PK 150s. Sabo still nice. Sabo shows their value. Toki I'm going to bring down into Amazing. Odin Toki. They're still really good, but like they're such a niche character for what they do. They did see a little resurgence with Gear 5, 6+, but nothing too crazy. Carrot Wanders for speed farming is still fantastic. This Blackbeard I'm going to bring down into PvP Ultra. I think he's a fantastic character on the Driven team. Like a fantastic character. This Odin I'm going to bring down into PvP Ultra because like, really the only place you're using that Ultra is that Odin is in PvP. And everyone else I'm pretty happy with just still being where they are. I think out of the Beast Pirate team, like, you need all of them together to actually work. So I guess, look, Meta's a pretty good spot for them. The Utas, they're fine. Where did I put Top Musica, though? Is she in Grand Voyage? Surely she's in Grand Voyage. Or is she in PvP? Oh, there she is. She's in PvP, yeah. She's such a good PvP character, so that's actually fair. The rest of characters, I'm pretty happy. Pretty happy with this. But like I said, we'll definitely move characters if need be. Alright, so let's go down. Let's take a look at some of the new characters we're going to talk about. We're going to start with the first two that were Blackbeard and Whitebeard. Whitebeard, honestly, for me, just isn't it. Like, he's kind of a niche character in the sense of if you need the Despair removal, I guess he can be kind of good. If you want the Chain Boundary effect, he can be quite nice. He's based up around sort of tap timing, but he's fairly niche in the sense of what he does. I'm going to bring Hawk Assassin, never going to use. Or Grand Voyage option, I guess. He's a Grand Voyage option. We're talking about Whitebeard. He's not bad. He's just nothing fantastic. Just a pretty niche character. And honestly, I don't really have much to say about Whitebeard. I don't love using Whitebeard. But Blackbeard is a monster. This Blackbeard is so good, man. I'm going to stick Blackbeard up in the meta. Because if a quick boss comes around now that, like, now that Big Mom's a thing, look, I think Blackbeard is just fantastic. He's a ridiculously powerful unit. The downside to him is he's an orb booster, and he's going to clash with one of the other characters we're going to talk about today. But the ability to just completely remove Despair and turn it into a buff is just so valuable. Plus, he's a 3-turn orb booster and a 3-turn color affinity booster. Giving you a full lot of orbs, he's a phenomenal unit. Like, a phenomenal unit. Heading back down, now we have Shanks and Buggy. Shanks and Buggy, I'm going to stick them in niche. Their ability, their color affinity is really, really cool, but they're sort of built up around increasing color affinity, provided you have a 3-turn buff. Their resistance is quite nice, and they do work really, really well for Gear 5 teams. But other than that, haven't really seen a really nice spot for Shanks and Buggy as of yet. It kind of sucks, to be honest, because like I love Shanks, but this particular character hasn't shone too much. Besides, like, PvP, this unit's so good in PvP, but other than that, like, it just kind of whatever. Croc Dofi, they're another niche character. Their ability to increase buffs is quite nice, and ideally, if you are using the unit, you mainly want to increase buffs that are your lowest buffs. But again, I haven't really seen a position where Croc Dofi has shone. They obviously were a Kazuna Legend. They were available for a Kazuna, and they worked nicely for that. But other than that, I just haven't really seen too much play for them. So I'm going to stick them in niche because they do have that potential to actually do something. Luffy and A6+. Honestly, Luffy and A6+ are very good. And they were amazing for their boosted months. Now that they're probably not boosted anymore, you're never going to use them. Honestly, like, they're great. They're a good unit, but you're just never going to use them. There's nothing bad to say about the character. It's just that they're not like a Neko Inu 6+, or they're not like a Shanks Crew 6+, where they just work exceptionally in PvP and stuff like that, so it is what it is. Robin Koala, they're fairly niche too, actually. A lot of these like newer legends have been quite niche in the sense that they do something that can be very good, but hasn't really been too fantastic. They have special reverse removal, but the big reason I want to put them in niche is because they have 3 turns of barrier removal. That is actually a ridiculously strong ability, but it's so rare to see barriers nowadays that you're never really going to be using it all that much. So when you do need the barrier removal, it's great. They can be a color affinity booster and an orb booster. They do 3 turns of an orb booster to Psi and it's called Psi and not Psi, Int and Dex, and then they give color affinity carryover. And they can be used on Gear 5 teams, but like if you're using them on a Gear 5 team, you get that carryover effect. It doesn't hit everyone, which kind of sucks. Kind of sucks quite drastically, to be honest. So it is what it is. Next, we've got the Black Marine ulti. I'm going to put them in PvP because whilst they're good in regular play, they are like a guaranteed conditional booster. They're not what Robin Koala is because they just don't boost Free Spirit. Like the reason I think Robin Koala is better than Black Marine ulti is literally because they're a Free Spirit character and they can be used on a Free Spirit team. But Black Marine ulti for Cerebrals and Driven, it's just not exactly there. I tried using them in like Grand Party as well. They didn't blow me away, but the Cerebral team definitely got better for them. It's just they're so wonky with boosting Cerebral, boosting Driven, and then like not really being super effective. I just can't justify them up here in this amazing tier, as whilst they are a conditional booster and they do a lot of damage, I just can't see them fitting onto, say, like the Dex build or something like the Int build. They probably could fit on the Dex build, like with Driven Powerhouse maybe, and doing some fun stuff there with like Blackbeard and Queen. Not Queen, with Big Mom and stuff. But look, for now, they're just there. Like they're just kind of there. Next we have Carrot and Nami though. So Carrot and Nami are super interesting because they help you do a lot of damage. They're actually quite amazing in the regard that they can give you a chain multiplicative as well as a chain boundary. Provided you've healed 50,000, the chain starting at like 5 times is ridiculously strong. They completely remove special by themselves too. They can give some resistance with their swap just like Shanks and Buggy can. but the upside to them really is that like damage output that you get with the chain. So they're pretty amazing. I used them in the latest Super Boss for damage output, and we did see what damage numbers Gear 5 can do with a character like this under the helm. They're a Straw Hat as well, so they go into Gear 5, which is awesome. And they also give you full water orbs and they heal as well, so they're a pretty interesting character. Next we have Nami and Robin 6+. Apparently they've got them twice on the tier list now. That's awesome for me. But Nami and Robin 6+, honestly, like, whilst they were really... They're very similar to what, what's it called? Luffy and Ace are doing. They're a fantastic character. They boost Cerebral, Int, and Dex. With their Orb buff now, they completely remove, like, Slot Bind by 10 turns and Paralysis. They do some really cool stuff. But, just like Luffy and Ace, like, it's just a bit of a shame that they didn't really do anything that's sort of game-breaking. They are really good in PvP, though. Like, in PvP, I'm a big fan of this particular character. Not only for the Cerebral team, but for the Free Spirit team. They are a Free Spirit Cerebral character in their dual form. And their PvP abilities buff everyone. So you can easily use them on Free Spirits. Nowadays, there's a lot of better options for Free Spirit characters, but whenever these 6+s come out, I think the best way to make them viable for endgame players is to make them decent in PvP. And they definitely did that with Nami and Robin, but they just didn't do it to the level of what Shank's crew is actually doing in PvP, which is a bit of a shame, but it's still very, very good. As for these actual characters I'm looking here, I'm going to bring Enel down to PvP Beta. I'm going to bring Kizaru down to Beta. And I'm going to bring Rayleigh down to Beta as well. I think that these characters just don't see that much play anymore compared to what the others are. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Alright, moving down again, we have the Reverie Girls. I have the Reverie Girls. I haven't had a chance to really use them per se. Honestly, in my opinion, you're never going to use them. They don't do anything that's super groundbreaking. They didn't introduce a mechanic where it's 2.75 to Rainbow Orbs. But then that just quickly blown away by Gear 5, and for that reason, I just don't think you're ever going to use this character. I'm not going to talk about them too much because I just don't think you're going to use them. Next we have Izo, another character you're never going to use. I think Izo has a really good support. Actually, this character has a fantastic support. Totally forgot. The Reverie Girls have a fantastic support. That's really the place you're going to use them. Izo, I don't have Izo. When he was boosting in PK, I didn't even use him. He sucks, in my opinion. He's a budget Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo, and he introduced the really shitty... what's it called? The really shitty barrier penetration. That barrier penetration sucks. I hate it. I dislike it. Just not a fan of it at all. There, that's Izo for you. Kawamatsu, I'm going to put Kawamatsu in PvP Beta. I don't think he's an Ultra. On the Slash team, I think Cracker just works better. But Kawamatsu's a lot of fun. I don't have the unit, but I have seen him used. I do think he's quite good. I just don't think the Slashers need him. If he was a PvP rare recruit, he'd be so much better. Alright, now we're on to the good stuff. We're on to the big boppers that are the Gear 5 Celebration units. And I just realized I forgot to add Conjurer, so give me one sec. Before we dive into the Gear 5 Celebration, there was a little bit of an intermission in between it with the Kazuna against Judge Sanji. Now, Sanji Judge got their 6+, and then we had the Reiju introduction as well. There was a Super Boss with Koala and Robin's release in that as well, but the Reiju was an interesting one, because Reiju kind of came out of nowhere. It was just sort of like a side release during all of this Gear 5 shenaniganry, but honestly, Reiju just seems really unique. She has an ability that can apply the pink poison, but she's built up around Powerhouse, Dex units, Fighter units, and for that reason, I don't think she's going to see all that much play. She's not a bad character. She's just a very unique character. She's very niche, and I believe she has some sort of utility in her kit, but honestly, I don't have her, so I don't really want to comment on it too much. And then finally, we have Jumanji. The Jumanji 6+, very similar to, again, Luffy and Ace. Very similar to Robin and Nami. Like, they're just never going to see use after this. Like, they are kind of unique in the sense that they can give you a 3-turn Orb boost and then 3-turn attack boost. But, like, other than that, like, yeah, their paralysis unit removal is cool, I guess. But, yeah, it is what it is with this unit. They have an ability to give resistance, I believe, if you have one of every type, which is sort of coming back. But you're never going to run them. Oh, they added Fighter, actually, to their kit, too. The only reason you would run them is, like, alongside Gear 5. But Gear 5 just has so many better options that, honestly, I just don't think you're ever going to use the character. Moving on to the Gear 5 celebration now, we just got Waifu and Marco as their 6+. Honestly, super disappointed in this 6+. They could have done so much with Waifu and Marco, they just chose not to, and for that reason, look, you're never going to use them. I'm not going to talk about characters you're never going to use, to be honest. But let's start it off with, you know what, let's start it off with Momo. We'll come back to the Gear 5s because I think Gear 5s are going to be a huge talking point. You know what, let's start with 6-star Gear 5, and then we'll finish with 6+. So, 6-star Gear 5. This unit is incredible. I know there is a lot of controversy around the unit, but this unit is absolutely phenomenal. Special bind removal, orb manipulation, orb manipulation, orb boost, color affinity boost, revive mechanic, super EX, amazing in PvP. Fantastic. Like, this unit is fantastic. Obviously, he has holes. You can't use the EX as a sailor. He's a disgustingly high cooldown. But when you're talking Super Boss, when you're talking 10-star Kazunas, when you're talking areas that he gets his cooldowns, he's so good. And taking him into regular content where you don't get the cooldowns, his captain ability literally just carries you. The cooldowns is my knock with him, not being able to use EX with him. For me, he's a top 5 unit, and it's no discussion. Like, it's not even a discussion for me. He has to be in the top 5. For that reason, I have to drop out K-Dad. 6-star Gear 5 is just absolutely incredible. Against int bosses, he goes absolutely ballistic. His rush, whilst we were very annoyed that he had to be in 6-5, he had to do the 6-tapper, at the end of the turn, the rush is like an overpowered final tap, and it sucks that you can't combine Super Tandem with rush into a final tap, but it doesn't really matter with Gear 5 because his final rush does so much goddamn damage. Like, so much damage. So he has to be in top 5 for me. There's no other discussion about it. He just has to be there. Moving down to Momo now. Momo is going to go into the niche category as well. He's a character that you're going to use for, like, wave clearing. I'm pretty much going to use him in every single PK moving forward. He gives cooldowns. He boosts free spirit. He gives EXP. He is a really, really good character. Like, a really good character. He would work exceptionally as a sub. Definitely would argue that he goes great as a sub. He removes damage reduction and attack down, so he's got good utility. Auto triggers at the start of the quest. He is a very, very good character. Like, a very, very good character. Honestly, I'm going to bring him up into amazing. I think that he's actually amazing. Looking at some of these other characters, I think this Luffy is a super sub. I think this Chopper is definitely a super sub. I think Rayleigh Gaban is definitely a super sub. You're only ever using them as subs in that regard. And same with... Sop's definitely dropped off quite a bit, if I'm completely honest with you. Carrot Wanda... Oh, Carrot Wanda are actually so good. I can't take them out of amazing. But Momo, going back to Momo, incredible character. Just absolutely fantastic. If you have him, be very, very happy because he's been very, very useful in the last couple months, and I do see him being very useful moving forward, as he's just an exceptional, exceptional unit. You know what? This Luffy has to... as an endgame player, you're only using him as a sub. Like, you're only ever using him as a sub. Heading down now, we have Kid Law. And the next part of the celebration was Kid Law and Big Mom. Now, Big Mom is absolutely insane. Like, disgustingly good. Like, ridiculously good. Kid Law, though, I do like, and they do connect to the Driven Free Spirit team, but I do think they're just a meta character. They just give you more damage with their ability to increase super types. They don't really do anything else otherwise. Their super swap is nice, but 8-turn super swap is so high. They have an EX, which they can be used as a sub, but their super EX is for 2 colors, which is kind of annoying, rather than what a class and a color would be. Their super EX, their super swap compared to their regular swap isn't that big of a difference. It just completely removes special one of the character, and then gives a extra 1.4 chain multiplicative rather than a 1.25. So that to me was kind of odd. And then their Super EX is just damage and increasing that. It's a little bit lackluster. Their special though is great. Gives them full body tandem orbs. Their Super EX gives a tandem orb as well, which can be very, very useful. But their attack boost is incredible. 3.25 to Psy and Int characters, which is great. The downside to them is their captain as well is only boosting Cyanins, which is just so annoying, in my opinion. Like, trying to run them alongside Gear 5, 6+, and then trying to do like a rainbow team is just, it's so difficult, because this unit doesn't boost classes, they only boost colors. So, kind of sucks, kind of is what it is, but unfortunately, that's where we're at with this character. Looking at this too, by the way, I'm actually going to bring Luffy down into Amazing. I think Luffy sort of had his time in the sun, and he's just sort of been replaced by, or hard replaced by, a whole bunch of other characters. Mainly other Straw Hats, to be honest with you. He's been out for a very long time though, so it's kind of nice to see that he's finally taking a dip in the stonks. The next unit that came outside alongside Claw is, or Lid, is Big Mom. I love this Big Mom. I think what this Big Mom provides her team compared to what Law and Kid provide theirs is exceptional. Her as a captain as well is fantastic. She has a Super X for 2 classes, which is just absolutely disgusting. She has a guaranteed conditional boost, and she has the ability that Robin has to give 2 conditionals, provided your captain is driven or powerhouse. Her as a captain as well, people like to compare her to Robin, and I don't think it's fair. Robin has the edge on Big Mom a little bit because she's a free spirit booster, but Big Mom just brings driven powerhouse way up when it comes to talking about what is the best class in the game. In my opinion, Free Spirit is still the best class in the game, but Driven and Powerhouse got a huge buff with this unit, being a color affinity with her Super EX, a guaranteed conditional booster, and it's a Big Mom. She has so many good supports that it's ridiculous. She has a final tap, which kind of dookie, if I'm honest, just doubling the chain, just like kind of what Robin and Uta does. But the tankiness, the bulkiness, this Big Mom is just so good. And if you partner her up with the new Kaido, who we're just about to talk about, you can do some ridiculous things. The downside to this unit is she's really just providing damage. Damage in bulk, really. Other than that, she's not really providing all that much in terms of what these other characters are doing in the top 5. The utility, the crazy super tandem, and the rainbow damage. The 4 different buffs. The utility and the crazy buffs, the 4 different buffs, and then the rush and the ability that Sanji provides. This Big Mom just kind of doesn't have that. In terms of these other meta characters, I do think she's better than a lot of them. I don't think she's better than K-Dad. I don't know if I would say she's better than Yamato, but I do think she's definitely up there. And as to everything else, like, I honestly think she's like that damn good that you can make an argument for her easily being in the top 10, and I do believe she's probably in my top 10. Moving down now, the final part of the celebration, we got Kaido, Kanjuro, and 6+ Luffy. First of all, we're going to talk about Kanjuro. Honestly, Kanjuro's poo. I said it in my video that when I first read his kit, he's poo. The only good thing about Kanjuro is his ability to get around Intimidation. The Intimidation buff has become so prevalent to reduce the buffs that Kanjuro can see some play. Unlike Roger Whitebeard, this Kanjuro is so niche that if your captain is Driven Powerhouse, he will increase your attack and orb boost 2-3 times. But that's literally all he does. Like, that is literally it. No other real buff for the unit. Being Kanjuro is quite nice because Kanjuro was good, so he has like the early supports that the Scabbards had. But other than that, like, he's sort of just not there. Taking a look up here as well, actually, by the way, I'm going to drop Roger Whitebeard into Amazing. I think Roger Whitebeard definitely has seen their time out of the spotlight, but they have that very interesting ability that Kanjuro has. But going back to Kanjuro, yeah, look, I don't dislike Kanjuro that much. Like, I do say he's poo, but like, yeah, I don't really see you using this unit besides that intimidation factor. Like, yeah, it is what it is for Kanjuro, to be honest, man. Next, we got Kaido. The final 2 units of the celebration being 6+ Kaido, 6+ Luffy, and Super Sugo Kaido. Honestly, I think Kaido is fantastic. I think this Kaido is everything I wanted Super Tandem Kaido to be and more. This guy, in my opinion, is a top 5 unit. Like an actual top 5 unit, which is crazy to think that we have a... Look at this. We have Free Spirit, 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 Free Spirit. Besides 2 other characters, Free Spirit, Free Spirit, and then we have some of these other characters, and then we go back to Free Spirit. It's crazy to see this particular unit so high on a tier list, being just a strength and powerhouse booster. And for that reason, I am actually going to drop Luffy Yamato. I'm a huge Luffy Yamato stan. Massive Luffy Yamato stan. But I do think that Luffy Yamato did kind of obviously have that replacement from Gear 5. But what this Kaido is doing for his teams is very similar to what I see Nami doing for her teams. He has barrier removal. He has end of turn damage, so he gets around resilience. He can apply burn. He can apply increased damage taken, which are two very unique buffs. He's a 3 times conditional boost that he can easily get with his EX. He generates Wano orbs, and he has a rush that can be used as the second or third tapper, provided you have 2 of the characters that are required for his rush. He is exceptional, and the damage numbers that we saw with this particular unit against the Dex Super Boss was insane. It was actually crazy to think that a character like this was doing that much damage when we had the meta of something like Luffy Yamato and the Straw Hats running around. For me, I have this character third. Third best unit in the game at the moment when it comes to damage output. On top of that, he's going to be exceptional for stuff like Treasure Map. He has end of turn damage, so you can just wave clear that way. His ability to just insta-kill or do 1 million fixed damage is great in Treasure Map. It's why this Luffy is going to be so good. It's why this Roger is so good. He's a fantastic unit. I think they did a real exceptional job with this Kaido. The only gripe I have with him is he only boosts strength and powerhouse. I would have loved for them to throw in driven. If it was a strength driven powerhouse, this unit would have gone to the moon. He's a 6 times captain. He's absolutely fantastic. I'm a big advocate of what this Kaido is doing. Looking at the top 5 now, as you can kind of see, it's coming together. And I told you at the start when we pulled up this tier list that it was going to change drastically before the end of the video. Scrolling down now, we have the last unit to talk about. We have Gear 5 6+. Gear 5 6+ caused as much controversy as Gear 5 6-star did, because they want you to use 1 of every color. On top of that, they didn't change his EX. They still want you to use 3 Straw Hats, Kid, Law, Momo, Yamato. All those characters within a certain color, as well as having them restricted to using those characters, can be quite challenging. However, you do have 5 other slots on your team, so that does include friend captains, so you can do some hybrid shenanigans. However, the combination of the Gear 5s is one of the strongest combinations we've seen in the entire game, which really only leaves you 3 spots for your subs, and it means you have to bring the other 4 colors because you are doubling up on your Psy units. So, Gear 5, where do I have him? He's a top 5 unit. He has to be a top 5 unit. It's not even a question about it. Whether you say Gear 5 6-star is better, whether you say the 6+ is better, I don't really mind. I think both of them are fantastic characters. I can't separate the two. For me, I believe they're equal 4th or equal 5th, however you want to go about it, however you want to look at it. The unit is fantastic, like so ridiculously strong. The 6+ in Kizuna is going to decimate literally every Kizuna. He has rainbow damage. You can use him anywhere. Provided you can build the team out, this character is going to be disgusting. If you are talking end game player here, with an established box and access to a lot of these other characters, this unit is going to go to the goddamn moon. The goddamn moon! Sure, you probably will be using a friend captain that's rainbowed. However, if you have your own that is rainbowed, you are going to be in some really good spots with stuff like the Sabo support. So, this unit is just, he's fantastic. And for the reason of bringing him to top 5, I have to bring Zoro out. Now, for me, I have these guys 4th and 5th, like, equal. Whether you have it like this, whether you have it like that. For me, I like this Luffy more because it provides a whole different diversity to team building that really stimulates the way that I like to build teams. That doesn't mean that I don't think that this guy can be better in certain situations, just like every character can be. But in terms of most of the time, I am going to try and run the 2 of them together and then play around with this guy's mechanic of 1 of every color, having the Straw Hats on the team. But he has the ability to be an attack booster. He has the ability to be an orb booster, so you can literally be either. He makes every orb 2.75, and if you do satisfy the condition of the 1 of every color, you are going to have rainbow damage, and every buff in the game is going to be a rainbow buff, which is absolutely absurd. It's actually absurd. Every buff in the game becomes rainbow, provided it doesn't state something like your captain has to be driven powerhouse, or it's not a carryover buff. So if you wanted to, for example, run, let's say, Blackbeard underneath this Luffy, Blackbeard is going to give you a 3-turn orb boost for everybody. Everyone. It's crazy. Kid Law underneath this particular Gear 5. The attack boost is not just Sign Int now, it's for everyone. And this particular ability makes the unit so goddamn strong, because now you have access to literally every single character in the game that doesn't clash with the name Luffy, of course. Every character special, well, 99.9% because of what I just stated earlier, now has viability underneath this particular unit. And then all of your damage is built up at the back end of hitting with this guy last. He has rainbow damage. Every single orb is matching. You have a 6 times captain to your entire crew. Yes, you have a true rainbow captain. 6 times. It's disgusting. On top of that, you completely remove Despair, which, yes, I agree. I would much prefer having this utility. But the Despair removal is very, very nice. Doing chain shenanigans, his rush goes absolutely ballistic. And you guys saw how powerful he was in something like Super Boss. If the enemy changes types, if you can build out that color team, this particular unit is going to go absolutely AWOL. So, that is the final tier list. Oh, one more thing I want to do. Nami's the queen. She's back at number 1. I do think after these recent buffs, she does trump Sanji. But other than that, this is the way I have it. Crazy to see Kaido above Gear 5, if I'm completely honest with you. But in saying that as well, like, I definitely can see this guy being more valuable moving forward if you can build the team outright. But within their certain situations, I do believe this particular combination, having Kaido, and then obviously you can just up with Big Mom, still having Zoro and Sanji for other types, is going to be incredibly powerful moving forward. But what we can see right now, and what I see right now, is that this is the top 5 best units in the game, and then everything else is very, very strong. Something else to note too, by the way, this character's going to be so crazy in Grand Party. We've seen how good they are in Grand Party. It also helps them out quite a lot in terms of where they sit up at the tier list. As for my next 5, I do think Luffy Yamato is just outside the top 5. Then you have Zoro, K-Dad, versus Yamato, and then Big Mom, I do believe, would probably slide in as number 10. You could probably make an argument to me that Claw is up there as well, doing something like this, and moving these 2 units around definitely could make a case for it, because they give such unique buffs. And then you obviously have Robin and Big Mom that kind of tie at the back end here. So, like I said, that's going to wrap up the tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Remember, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. If you guys agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know down below as well. If you guys want to build your own tier list, I'll leave a link in the description below. But while you're down there, bolt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Let's